The meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Okay, you guys, we're on live. This is Calvin, and this is Brother Labib. Wow, I think what's happening, I'm looking at my photo or the screen, and I'm saying the words and my mouth isn't moving, so I was kind of disturbed about that, but I guess that it's all in sync, so to speak. Anywho, I thank y'all for coming on, and we got something going on here today that I know is gonna be something. And me and Brother Labib was talking for a minute before I went live, and I'm feeling it, y'all. I'm really, really feeling it. I first want to say, in regard to what this is about, basically, it's all about Black men coming to an understanding of what it might take for us to have better relationship with each other, with our spouses, our children, and the world at large. And the thing is, the key to all of it, and this is my opinion, I want to say that everything that you hear that comes out my mouth is how I feel. And so this does not mean because I'm saying it and Labib is on or James is on that they agree with me. And then again, whatever they say is the same thing. And so we're not spouting this as if we're experts on the subject, but this is just something that we feel. And so I believe that communication is the key. And if we as men were to communicate a little more, things would be better. And I want to say, what I was sharing with Labib a minute ago was the fact that my communication with him has improved my life. You know what I mean? It has definitely improved my life. And so I know that for me, communication works. Labib, you have something?
Yeah, I was thinking about this whole dynamic of communication between people. And recently, just to set an example of how I think the art of communication is getting muddled, is my daughter told me that her car, she was having car problems.
Okay.
So she went online and she Googled this and she Googled that, and she was just going to use the internet to bring her car in and get it fixed. And I said, no. I said, what we should do is identify those places and then go and talk to people. Because she was just going to merely find a place, bring the car, get it repaired. And I think what the internet has done is it has breached the lines of communication to where we're too reliant upon an algorithm to tell us what it is we're looking for or what it is we need. So subsequently, what happened was we went and I talked to the first guy, told him what I thought the problem was. He listened, and then right off the top, he threw a price at me. So I said, okay, we're gonna go and talk to some other people. And finally, we got to a guy, and he said, let me hear, turn it on, let me hear it. And so the 2 or 3 people had quoted us $750 for the problem. And this other guy listened to it and he says, oh, it's just the belts. And so it went from the other gentleman were talking about moving the system the belt that runs the air conditioning unit and all that stuff. And,
wow.
And it itself. So when he listened to it, long story short, we ended up paying $120 for the part and for repair. But if she had just went online and picked someone, that first place we went to, it would have been $760.
Oh man.
And so the point is, like I told my daughter, I said, you have to talk to people. And by talking to people, one, we learned something as we talked to each one of those guys. And then finally we got to somebody that just basically said, the problem is this. And, you know, so I think the internet has its merits and it has its demerits. But
Mhm.
one of the things I think it does is takes the human equation out of the,
Yes,
out of the mix.
yes,
And it reduces it just to facts and information. You know,
right.
I think if we realize that, then we can source it better. But
Mhm.
it has become like canon or biblical. You know, people source it and they think they found the truth.
Right.
You know, so that's how I wanted to kind of
Okay.
open this.
Wow. Um, it's, you know, oh, I got a situation here. It says Aya entered the room and her picture came on. What do I do about that?
She will come on. It's James.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, I feel exactly the same way, man, because I think that um communication itself can be mechanical, you know what I mean? And if the human energy or vibration is not held, then you're not going to get the same results, because it's much better. Like, I'm sitting here talking to you now and I can see you. You know, if you sent me an email, this couldn't possibly happen.
Yeah.
The way I'm feeling, you know what I mean? And then a telephone call is the same thing. Talking to somebody on the phone rather than sending them a message or that kind of thing. And I think, like you inferred, that the human element is key, because you can go into a place and the person that you're talking to is not feeling well or whatever might have happened to them during that day, and they start talking to you and they feel better. And then there's a better communication between the two of you. You know what I mean? And so it's definitely, I think, a matter of communicating. I thought that was a very wise move on your part to suggest to your daughter, you know, to go see these people. And I remember talking to our children, because me and Nicole got a lot of children that, you know, we're not necessarily blood related, but all of them seem to feel that the way to get a job is to go online. You know what I mean? And they say that that's the way you get a job, is to go online. I always felt that if you go see the person that you're trying to get the job from, it'll work out better. That's just my personal feeling, you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're reducing everything to non-human contact. So I just said they're reducing everything to non-human contact.
Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely. Hey, James, if this is you, man, turn on the camera and unmute.
Hey,
Okay, all right.
my bad. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, just called me here. Hold on, I'm hooking this
Huh?
up. Right? Is this better? Yeah. Do y'all see better now?
Yeah. We see you. Yeah, Labib, and it is like you said, man, at the onset. It has its value, you know. It definitely has its value, the internet. But what has happened to us in the process is amazing. And I think if we spend a little more time assessing that, you know, and taking a look at it, we find that to be true. That we're being cut off from each other. We're definitely being cut off from each other by too much internet. What I want to do, since you're here, is a little something I did last time, and
What's up, Levine? My bad. How y'all doing? Good. It's good. What's up, Calvin? It's good to see
man.
y'all, man.
Yeah. We did a little breathing exercise, and I want to do it again. And this time we're going to step it up a notch. I think we did up to 3. We're going to start with 3, and we're going to breathe in to the count of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. We're going to hold it to the count of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. We're going to exhale 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And then we're going to hold it 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And then the next round, we're going to do it four, the number 4, and then the number 5. So it'll be 3, then 4, then 5. And so everybody, I'm asking you to kind of relax in your seats. I'm going to close my eyes. Y'all don't have to. But relaxing yourself in your seats. and imagine yourself by yourself in a place by yourself that's not really here. It's somewhere else, wherever you want to be. You want to be by a pond, you want to be by the ocean, wherever you want to be. Take yourself there just for this breathing exercise. And so let's get comfortable in our seats, be totally relaxed, starting with your feet. Relax your feet, relax your calves, feel the relaxation coming. Your knees, relax your thighs, relax your waist, your chest, your neck, your hands, your arms, and last but not least, rest that head. Let's begin. Breathe in 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Hold it 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Breathe out 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Hold it 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Breathe in 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Hold it 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Breathe out 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Hold it 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Breathe in 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Hold it 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Breathe out 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Hold it 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Breathe in normally, breathe out normally at your own pace. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Okay, y'all, come on back. Yeah. Okay, James, before you came on board, man, we were just basically talking about the act of communication itself and how important it is. And Labib and I feel the same way, in the sense that communicating with one another as people rather than through a machine like the internet is a lot better. And he was sharing with us about his daughter trying to get her car repaired. And she wanted to go online and find somewhere. And he said he felt that even if she went online, they should visit the place that she found. And the difference made that was very significant was a few $100s. You know, she got the repair made, but online it would have cost a lot more money. She got an opportunity to go in and talk to the person, and they told her what they felt that it was or what it was, and it had nothing to do with what the other people had said. And so that was a true blessing. Something that,
That's what's up.
Yeah. Did you got anything? How do you feel about that, by the way, about our means of communication? Do you feel that the way that we communicate in terms of Facebook and the Instagram and text messages and email and all that, how do you feel that the value of that in comparison to talking to each other personally?
Well, as you know, I struggle with communication, period. So, and I struggle with change. That's one of my biggest things that I realize, is that it's not even as much communication as it is for me change. Right.
Okay.
And then communicating the change to people.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
The internet is up for grabs. It's in our disposal as much as it is anybody else. At a time right now, it's either we grow or we die. Either we, it's like as if the internet never, it's like when before the internet never was. You know, I grew up in a time where I grew up outside, the internet and everything was still getting started. You know, phones and things were still getting started. So I know the difference between not having the internet and having the internet.
Okay.
And I understand a lot of people and myself with the change of the internet. And what I have to say is things are going more internet. If
Mhm.
we don't accept that change, it's going to be like Black people not accepting the fact that even though we worked for cotton, cotton was a dying field because when they freed us from slavery, they gave us the cotton fields, but cotton was already a dying field. And so now we work in cotton fields that's dying and it tied us to the land. So either we grow or we die because we see the position we're in today while still trying to work those cotton fields. It's either we take control and start to make the resources work for us, or we're going to be a resource with the resource being resourced.
Yeah, well, tell me this, because what I'm hearing basically is that we really have to adjust to the presence of the internet and use it accordingly. And I totally agree with that. We definitely have to adjust if we're going to keep up with what's going on. My thing is, like my mother, for instance, she don't like the internet at all. She'd rather
Right.
talk, and and so to ask her to change or even consider changing, I don't think it's really fair.
Well, how is she talking?
Huh?
How is she talking?
What do you mean?
And what forms? How does she talk to you from a long distance?
On the phone.
And so what the internet is just technology. The phone is technology. What the thing is technology. It's communication and mobility. Those are the only two things that matter in life. Communication and mobility.
Okay, hold. Yeah. What about love? That matters too,
well,
right?
love is already in that because you can't take love from a human being unless a human being doesn't obviously understand or doesn't know, or you can't take love away. So why do we have to even talk about that? We have to, the lovers who understand love has to love and do that. And those that don't, and the people that's observers will understand the difference between a dirty glass and a clean glass. We use it for how we use it. And the people who obviously are not using it for the right way will tell the difference and want to work with people that love more. But we don't try to do other things or try to get mad at them, because a lot of people who we feel like don't love, it's actually not that they hate us. It's the fact that they love themselves a little too much, but it's still love. It's the practice of love nonetheless. It's an unhealthy love, but it's still love.
Okay, well, what I'm saying to you is that sending my mother an email, the tears from the love I have for my mother. I would rather talk to her and hear her voice and feel her spirit than get an email from her. And that's basically what I'm looking at in terms of love. I think that the love is not present on the internet. You know what I mean? As much
is it present in a telephone? Like, let's take a present thing, because I understand you, but let's take a physical thing. Like, remember when you was a kid, you played telephone, and then like you'll say one thing
with
to somebody.
10 cans. Yeah, absolutely,
right,
absolutely.
But like it'll go around the circle, and by the time it get to the end of the circle, it done said something else. It wasn't even what you said. So what we can't do is worry about love. Love is whatever it is. We are what we are. What we can do is say that if you want to talk to your mother and you want to express your love, what is the best forms of digital representation of love that it looks like, and we create that and we produce that and we bring that to your mother on the times that she can receive that.
Well, when we're gonna take my mother out of the equation, we're gonna talk about Calvin. I don't feel no love coming from the internet at all, man. None. And I think love is very important. And
no, I agree.
Yeah, and I feel that I would prefer to be in the presence of another human being. And then secondly, I would prefer to talk to them on the phone. Well, secondly, I like to do what we're doing. This is the internet, and I'm liking this Zoom and all that. I like that. I can feel the love through Zoom. I'm just saying that is because of, like you said, is because I'm loving. You know what I mean? and whether the people are loving me, it don't make no difference, but I can feel the love from both of y'all
Right.
on the
man.
internet.
Right. Right.
But I'm just saying that I don't think that the internet is intending for you to do that. The internet is about, like you
I
said,
feel you.
convenience,
Right.
speed and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Which is why we're working on what we're working on with Proof Place. Is
Yeah.
that if she has something that she needs done, we should have the love for our own people to be
Oh,
able to
absolutely.
get that job
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And so that's what Proof Place is all about, is creating that love. It's creating a culture of love. Because the
On the
culture
internet,
of love,
you're saying.
because the culture of love doesn't exist. Since I've been born, the culture of love has not existed. I've never seen the culture of love.
You've never seen
I've never seen the culture of love since I've been born. I
really?
have not existed in a community or a place or anywhere, any environment where love took over, where love was great, where love had it, where love was the language, where love
no, me neither, man.
was the influence, right? But that's okay,
Yeah,
because I understand that love is something if you don't feel it inside of yourself and bring it without, that you won't receive it, right?
Absolutely.
And so with that, I said, okay, great. Now the internet is something obviously that's going to grow more, whether we like it or not.
Absolutely.
And so my only question then is, okay, well then let's take our love that we know and digitize our love, like create these spaces, create this and create that, where our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, whether we like it or not, is going to be on the internet, and they're going to have the opportunity to live through love. Because what I noticed is that our grandparents didn't worry about creating the space for love. So I never knew what that. I don't know what that. I have to create that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So we're gonna ask the sage, man, because I'm sure he has some viewpoint on
Oh, okay, right. Because I'm only 28. You feel me? I'm only 28, man. I don't know.
Yeah, no, well, I don't think the age makes a difference. We're here.
I respect y'all.
Yeah, we're learning. We're here to learn from each other. If we don't talk about this stuff, we ain't gonna never learn about it. And so we got me and you, and we have our points. Let's hear from Brother Labib.
So Jake raised a very good question. And I guess the question is, like he said, he used the analogy of cotton. He just said that it was a dying industry. That we got caught in a dying industry.
Right.
So the question is, the internet, will we seize the opportunity to utilize it for our benefit, or will it become our demise? I guess that's what you're saying, James.
The internet, we can create our own internet. Like the internet is not a one fits all. We can literally create our own. So it's like we can create whatever we want. It's just what I see is that what I noticed through history with us as Black people, why I don't feel like we don't grow, is because we don't understand our own ability through life and how other humans create. Like we have the ability to create. We don't have to worry about anything if we just create.
Well, let me see how I frame this. I'm not anti-internet and I'm not anti-technology, but the concern I have is that, for example, when you use a software, one of the first things they ask you to do is to accept or reject what it is you're getting ready to enter into. And so if you want to use that product, you have to hit the accept button. It's just like to log into Zoom or any of this stuff. And my concern is that, yes, we're bringing our own agency to the table, but these are not our tools. This is
Right, right, right.
someone else's frame reality that we have
Absolutely.
engaged in. And so the question becomes, can we reframe this reality to benefit us? But the tools that we're using, we have to understand that basically what they're doing is that it's like this one scholar said, they're after our sovereignty. They're after our humanity.
Yeah.
To the point where our every waking hour now is this engagement with a machine.
Right.
And so the question is, do we want to have some autonomy from the machine, or do we want to merge with a machine? And that's the question that's before everybody that's living today. You know, how much of this do we want to give in order to coexist with this entity called technology?
Right.
And that's something people had to address from the beginning, that they had a plow, or the beginning that they had a tool or a hammer. You know, it comes a point where you have to say to yourself, who's really benefiting from this, and who's really driving all of this? And I understand that it is a form of communication. It is a form of, like you said, for mobility, for the transference of knowledge and information and stuff like that. But the way it's constructed, that whole entity, there's little that we really have control over, because everything that we say we accept, they've done studies, they're tracking all of our behaviors. If I go on, sometimes I'm on the internet and I notice that their ads are popping up with things that I had conversations with people about. I talked about traveling to Europe, and now I see ads about Europe, and so that's the part of the internet that, to me, I think we need to understand what we're engaging in. And because it's free, and because most of the tools that we use are quote unquote free, we need to understand that, are we being enslaved by this, or we really have our own agency with this thing?
Boom.
And
And
that's
right.
the question to me.
Yeah.
I wholly agree. Which Calvin, like I told you, proof plays. We together, we create our own terms. We create our own conditions. We create our own. This is our own platform, our own digital wave. If we don't start to create, because right now we're just consuming, even if we're producing on their platform instead of platform. We can have, just like we can have book publishing companies, but we don't have no book producing companies. All the Black publishing companies still go to Amazon to get their book produced. That's the problem, you know. And so what I'm saying is that through what we're working on is building our own software, building our own NFT, non-fungible tokens, right? Which is just the most basic unit of technology that shows that you got something, that this is yours.
Yeah.
Right.
James, I agree totally, man. The thing that I'm trying to stress is that how attached are we to the technology in terms of our survival? Because I personally feel, in order for us to survive and to be okay, you know, we have to have some type of connection outside of technology. We have to have that technology.
Well,
and then you can
let
me finish. And then you can, you know, if you want to collaborate with technology, as long as we keep up front that we got to have this love for each other. You know what I mean? And which overrides the technology, then I'm fine with, I agree wholeheartedly. You know, we need to create our own internet. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm just saying, I think I don't want to duplicate what's happening now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing I want to duplicate is independence.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that takes somebody to understand the different varieties of survival, right? Is that if we don't know how to actually survive, because you're right, because at the end of the day, the internet, just like money that we use to pay our bills, doesn't exist. But we are dying to pay our bills with something that's fake.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we can't say on one end we don't like the internet, but we paying our bills.
Yeah.
At some point, we as humans got to be real with that. If we really serious, stop paying your bills one time and let's all really figure this out. Because I'm with that. I'm
Yeah.
all the way with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a
Absolutely.
lot of people ain't with that. So if you
Yeah.
ain't with that, they don't talk like that because you ain't really with that. Stay in your lane. But if you with that, then let's talk about survival. What does survival look like? How do you grow your own food? How do you build like this? But you gotta understand you exist within a world that will kill you if you don't listen. Obviously, Black people have been doing this for a long time. Now, there's a reason why I became I was a revolutionary, then I became a responsible revolutionary. There's a thin line between that, right? Is that I was a revolutionary when I reckon, just by nature, hey, hold on, wait a second. I'm a whole human being. You can't talk to me like that. You can't treat me like that. I'm fighting police. I'll catch a case. Okay. Right. Then I got kids and all of that, and it started making me rethink. And then I started learning history. And I learned about at a period of time when Black people, field order number 15, which is what Black people call the 40 acres and a mule. It happened, right? It was the general field order, which also they say emancipated the slaves, which is Black people consider freedom. It's not freedom, right? Is that what happened with Black people is that one side of Black people took the 40 acres and a mule and created their own schools, their own hospitals, their own institutions, their own army with their own land. That's what happened on one side. Still within a system, because we have to have a system in order to work. But the majority of the people was scared. And so they migrated from the south to the north. They did that and worked in the factory jobs that created, when Black people migrated to the south, from the south to the north, they went and worked in these factory jobs when white Irish people, particular at that time, was protesting their jobs, unionizing and saying that, hey, you ain't giving us wages. Now they hiring Black people because Black people trying to get their people paid at that time. So they taking the Black people, which created the Red Summer that went for 2 years, that created the bigger war with the whole Black Wall Street. That happened from the Red Summer at the factory when they was creating the cans for beer and for helmets. This is because Black people didn't know how to do for themselves.
Right.
We ain't
let me say something. It is a couple of things that I talked about in terms of what we were going to talk about. Well, one thing,
okay, my bad.
That's love, education. And so no. I mean, you gave us a history lesson, man. That's cool. We all learning from everything that's being said, but I'm looking at the time and we need to move from this and talk about what I put out there. And what I put out there is that we're going to definitely be talking about love education. And so I want to explain to you guys what I mean by love education. And let's talk about that for a while. And then there's and I talked to a friend of mine, and she wanted to know why is it so hard to find a good Black man? So we want to talk about that as well. So we're going to spend some time talking about the two of them, because that's what's out there. So in terms of love education, the thing that prompted me to think about this topic was talking to Labib. And he shared with me some things that are happening with his son, or that have happened with his son. And my conclusion after hearing him was that the main component of the relationship with his son that helped his son to become educated was the love he has for his son. And this kind of love, like, I don't feel it on the internet. I don't feel it in the public schools either. And I think that the system that has been set up and that we're living with, is not necessarily everything that we need. Is not necessarily in it. So like you said, we need to invent or create other means for doing the things that we're gonna do anyway. We're gonna educate our kids. Our kids are gonna be educated because it's the law. You know what I'm saying? But is there a way that we can bypass the way things have been set up to put a little love in the process. And Labib, if you don't mind, man, speaking on that, you don't have to say anything personal, but just speaking on that, you know, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it kind of runs into what James is talking about, the use of technology, right?
Right.
So my oldest son he'll be 22 in June, at the end of June. His first 6 or 7 years of school, I would say from the first grade to the 8th grade, he went to a private school. The reason being because in the area where I lived, I wasn't satisfied with the institutions. So he went to a private Islamic school. After the 8th grade, I decided to take him out of school, and he did schooling from the 8th grade to the end of 12th grade via the internet. He went to school online. I realized
This is prior to the pandemic.
way prior to the
Right.
pandemic. Here in California, they had a program where you could, with the state's funding and everything, you could do schooling online. So I took that option, but I also realized that I was going to sacrifice his socialization at the same time. But weighing the situation, I knew that the schools in my neighborhood probably would have to get tough and rough, deal with gangs and the whole 9 yards. So I decided to take another path. And so I also found out that in the state of California, if you're in a public school, you're allowed to take classes at the junior college level for free. So what I started doing was, I noticed he played games a lot on the computer. So one day I came to him and I said, hey man, you got to do something about this. I said, right now you're on the consumptive end of this. I said, either you start learning how to make a game, make a product, or I'm gonna take this away from you. So he said, okay. He started fooling around. I started noticing he got interested in making games. And so I started taking him to the junior college and enrolling him in the basic computer classes. Before I know it, he ran through their whole program. And so by the time he got ready for college, he had been involved in a lot of hackathons and all this stuff that these kids are involved in. And so I used the internet and I used the online schooling to facilitate the objective I had, which was to make sure that I could, and it coincided with me retiring. I retired in 2009. And so between the internet and my schooling, you know, me working with him hand in hand, we were able to kind of circumvent the poor institutions that we had in our community. And I was able to kind of create the curriculum that I wanted and the environment that I wanted for my son and my daughter. And he ended up going to UC San Diego, majoring in computer technology science. And my daughter majored in environmental science, and she minored in neuroscience. And so personally, I don't have a really strong math background, but I'll tell you what, in 1975, Honorable Elijah Muhammad's son, W.D. Muhammad, mentioned a book by a guy named Alvin Toffler, and it was called The Third Wave. He talked about was these epochs with technology. And he talked about the epoch that we were entering, which is now what we know as the internet. And I got kind of interested in that. And an older son who's 40 years old, and when he was 3 years old, I purchased him an Apple IIc. Cost me $4,500. I bought it for him, introduced the computer to him because I was reading about where we were going, that they were going to deindustrialize this country. They were going to bring about what they call knowledge workers. And I began to guide my kids on this path. And my oldest son ended up graduating from Berkeley. He went on to China, lived there for 17 years, built a company, and now I have my younger kids. And so I think I was able to look at the technology, look at the trends, which way the society was going, reading about those things, and I just kind of guide my kids in that direction. there was something with math I didn't know, I went in my pocket, went in my hustle, and I paid for somebody like my older boy. I found 2 tutors for him. One was African American, one was a Chinese girl, and I had them rigorously tutored in math. I did the same thing with my younger children, and so that's my personal story, and
Yeah.
that's how I source the things that were around me, and I circumvented all the BS that I saw that was waiting for my kids because I had went through that system.
Right.
Knew that it hadn't changed at all. They were still talking about reforming the school, making the schools better, but I knew that we were given an inferior technology called public education compared to the people that were the ruling class, the people that were running the country. So I decided to just take the resources I had and do for my kids what I thought would get them where they needed to go.
Yeah. And I just want to say the reason I said love education is because I don't think that because children are not educated is a lack of love on the part of the parent. You know what I mean? The lack of love is the institutions that are supposedly educating, and as far as I'm concerned, they're doing a lot of training for the next step. You know what I mean? And so some attention from your parents is of utmost importance. Some attention from the tutor is of utmost importance. Some attention from whoever you're coexisting with is so important. And that attention is love. You know what I mean?
Speaking of love, Calvin, let me just say this, that I had to develop a selflessness. I had to get rid of me.
Okay.
Children so far in front of me where I gave up everything.
Yeah.
I had to go raggedy. I had to do it out. I had to hustle. I had to do it, and I had to make sure that nothing in the streets was preeminent in my life. Not my friends, not anything. My kids were my number one priority, and their education was foremost. And so that's how I drove it. And to the point where my oldest son, tells people all the time, he says, my dad raised us like Chinese people. Well, I correct that and said, no, I raised you as African-American Muslim people.
Come on, man. Come on.
Islamic thing, education is number one.
Yeah.
The Bible opens up and says, well, in the beginning there was light, right? Well, the first revelation Muhammad got was he was told to read.
Right. That's right.
Read in the name of your Lord. So education to me is to make education a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like the Jews have a tradition. When they have babies, they put honey on books. It's a symbolic thing, but it's to attract them to knowledge.
Yeah.
And we have to embed some type of cultural dynamic.
That's cold.
That will sustain us through everything. You see, but education has to be number one, and we have to die for it. We have to be willing to sacrifice everything we got for our children and for education. And that's my premise.
Yeah. James, you and I and Nicole and I have talked about educating our
grandchildren. Cold dude, man.
So tell me, man, have you seen something, a light or something pop up? Because it popped up for me when Labib was talking. Did anything happen for you?
Say that one more time, because I'm still kind of taken aback by everything.
Basically, I'm saying, did you learn anything?
Huh?
Did you learn anything in that piece?
I learned a lot, and I also appreciate what I can appreciate from what he's saying.
Okay.
That, I said that I never had, so I had to learn love myself. I had to do it myself, but for the record, you have been the father I've been looking for my whole life, and I not to say nothing bad about my father. I love my father. He's still a great father in the way that he knows how to be. The way that you know how to be has been everything I've been needing as a man, as as somebody. So I appreciate that. I mean, look, you created this space and allowed me to speak my piece. So that's everything. I think that what Labib was just talking about is that knowing trends and putting your kids in a better position. That's important. And sacrificing, because the sacrifice is always going to end up nice.
That's right. That's right.
And so that's what it's about, is that we're talking about the internet, but because he sacrificed way back when, not to put your age, I not get over clothes, but just saying that way back then, now your kids is in the most utmost greatest position to not only make money, but start to manipulate and control a world. Like that's power, you know, and I respect that about Labib. And I respected that when I talked to him, and I appreciated that when I talked to him. And I respect that about you, because you manifest things in life in physical form. Like you put your mind, I see how you exist. So that means something to me. And so the way that I exist, you know, I see the way, I see trends, you know. And so because you're in my life and you hook me up with people like Labib and you talk to me, you know, I feel confident to say, hey, this is where I think we should go. And to go there though, right? You know what I'm saying? And to go there is that's the most important piece, is that if you don't have that love to me is access.
Okay.
Now that we're talking about it, that love is access. If you don't have that access, if nobody allows you, right, you know, you're gonna go somewhere, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Which is what I did. So I went to prison. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
You feel me? Because you know,
that's so key, man. Because you know, in talking about women, you know, the thing is that
we talking about women.
We hear all the time looking for love in the wrong places. You know what I mean? Right. And you had to go to penitentiary to find it. But here, man, when you went to the penitentiary, you gave the love from yourself to the inmates, and you're still doing that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So you found love in yourself. When you started giving your love, that's when you receive it. And I
absolutely,
think that works,
man.
You know?
Absolutely, man. Because I kept giving my love to, you know, I thought she was my girl. You feel me? But it took like 6 months, you know, for that not to be my girl. And the guilt, because I thought we was gonna get married. So I had to learn how to love myself. Look,
absolutely, man.
Absolutely. You know what I'm talking about. Hey, this ain't none of that. But you know, that was back then. This is now. You feel me? But I'm glad it didn't work out, because I learned how to love myself. You know, I got placed in a position to learn how to love myself. When them letters stopped coming in, when people stopped answering the phone, I had to look at what kind of friend am I for my friends not to write me? Man. What kind of family member am I for my family not to answer the phone? At first I was mad at them, but then what am I doing? Because I'm looking at all these other brothers, they got money, they got phone calls, they got mail, they got all of that. And so it starts with self. Yeah, man. Self-love is the best love. Absolutely. Because only then can you produce, because it's created with inside of you. Which is bring me to my point about technology. If we create that with ourselves, we can produce it outside of ourselves.
Absolutely. This thing, and to me, man, this thing is so important. What we're doing is so important, because what's happening is that we're talking about stuff that's really personal stuff. And we as men, especially black men, have been taught that you got to stand up. You know, you can't be no punk. You know what I'm saying? And the things that we think are punkish are really not. You know what I mean? But that's how we've been brought up, and that's how the world has trained us to believe you got to be hard. You know what I mean? And I think that can segue right into like the question my friend asked. How do y'all feel about? First of all, I want to state that there are good men on the planet. black men on the planet, you know, and it might be hard finding one, but we here, you know, we here. So let's make that clear. We're here.
All
And
right,
so
cool.
what do y'all think that a lot of females are seeing that have got
you can't say female.
you know,
You can't say female.
I really want a black man, and I don't want a white man, and I don't want to be gay, but times is getting really hard. So what do y'all think is going on with us that you know, women are feeling kind of, you know, like, hey, ain't nothing out there.
Go ahead, B. I would love to hear you wisdom.
I don't know if I have any wisdom for that, but yeah. That's a Rubik's Cube.
Oh man.
That whole dynamic of relationships and why it doesn't work, why we fail to connect and all of that. And I don't know. I just think we don't exalt our women enough to the point where, just like with the children, I just think that they have to be put in that same space where even if the relationship doesn't work out, it doesn't have to end where that person is pushed to the point where you no longer care about them or the children.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And so I just think, you know, like James said, it's really about love.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I don't think we love our women enough.
Wow.
Enough.
Wow.
I believe that. That's a fact.
I just don't believe we love them enough.
Mhm.
And I don't know. It's you know, a lot of brothers may not want to hear what I have to say about that, but it's like this. It's like, how can we expect the world to give us justice when we don't give it to our own women? We don't say those things in our own interactions with our own people. And that's the dynamic that gets me. It's like, yeah, it's okay to point outside of yourself and talk about, you know, the exterior forces, that the white man and all of that. But I really think we need to decenter that whole narrative and really center, like James said, ourselves. It's really about us, you know, and it's really not about anybody else. But I just think we need to really bring our women more to the forefront and demonstrate to them that, you know, no matter what, you know, we're not going to treat them like subjects or like something that we just discard when we're done with them. And
right.
That to me is a problem. And until we resolve that, we're going to keep chasing our tails and we're going to keep having these discussions, because that's the central problem there for us.
Okay.
It's the interaction between us and our women.
Wow.
And we got to figure that out.
You want to speak on that, man? You being a young man and you know.
Right. That's real. That's real. And so I respect everything Labib said. As always, he's a respectable man in that nature. With that, by living and existing in a couple generations after, right, is that, you know, life is about waves, right? So whatever somebody does, whatever happens here, it has a ripple effect. And so living AC after crack, I can tell the difference of women.
After crack, okay.
Right, not after Christ. That's for white people, but we live it before crack and after crack.
Right, absolutely.
For black folks,
Absolutely.
right? And
Absolutely.
so living after that time, right? Because I don't ever want to put anything on us too much as men, especially black men, because and if I do put anything on us, I put this on us. Real men freed their people. Period. All
Real
other
men
nations
do what?
free their people.
Okay.
All other nations have done it. Chinese have China. Japanese have Japan. Irish have Ireland. The black man ain't got no land for the woman to feel safe in.
Mm.
That's the only thing I'll say is that our women is just telling us they're not safe, and they have every right and reason to say that. Now,
Okay.
the way they go about it and what they do is also still not right either. You know? Not caring about yourself because we don't care about you ain't gonna help us.
Mm.
You know, and it's not gonna want us to want to respect you, because that's not, you know, respect beggars respect. But as men, one thing I know as a man growing, you know, is that it doesn't matter. It's if we drowning, if you're a woman, and if we take off half the weight or whatever weight, then you're gonna be safe, and I'm gonna drown in this one, so that you can be safe.
Mm-hmm.
As men, we have to get to the point to be as strong as the Aguba, I think the Aguba women who came off the slave ships holding their children and drowned with their children because they said that we rather. I know, nah, you happy, baby. That's what's up. You know, to drown with the children in the water because they'll rather die than to be a slave.
Right, right.
As men, we talk about this in slavery. You don't talk about something you can do. You just do it. There's a difference. As white men freed their women out of slavery. Now the white women only dealing with their men, with their own issues in their own way, and they men is dealing with it with themselves and talking to other people, but they still independent men. They're strong and upright, fearless men. They fought and they died for themselves. We fought and died for somebody else.
Right.
We ain't never fought and died for ourselves, so you can never respect a man like that. Until the time that we as black people fight and die for our own freedom, we will never be men to our women.
Tell me this, man. What does that look like? How can a woman see a man that possesses what it is that you're talking about? How is that?
Well, number one, our women ain't gonna understand. Our women today, let me tell you, number one, our modern women, most of them don't know how to cook, so they wouldn't understand what a real man look like if you try to hit him with a stick.
Oh man,
you know, I'm gonna say it like that. They don't know.
Hey man, we.
Oh my bad.
We try to love our women, man.
I love them.
Yeah,
love is true. Love is true.
Yeah. Well, they're asking for advice, man. And I'm
okay. All right. All right.
I think something you said is of utmost importance, and something Labib said connects to what you said, and that being that women and children, our women and our children deserve the same thing, and one of those things is our protection.
That's number one.
A child has,
Yeah, no, I'm agree. I said that's number one.
Yeah,
A
child needs protection. Yeah. A child needs to feel that he's provided for. He or she is provided for. It ain't no different with a woman. She wants protection. Right. She wants to be provided for. She wants to feel safe.
And money don't always
and so I don't know how that looks. And maybe we need another time to talk about it because it's 8 o'clock here in wherever I am, you know. And so I just want to say you guys, I mean, y'all have no idea what you're doing for me. Y'all have no idea. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And we gonna keep this thing going, because one thing that I am positive of, communication is the key. Communication is the key. And we done started communicating in a way that I have never communicated before. Never. You know what I mean? And again, I appreciate all, both of y'all. Really, really do. So if y'all got any parting things, it's the time to say it is now.
Go ahead, LeBeat.
No, it's a pleasure once again to be in your presence, James, because I was reading the other day this jazz musician named Ethan Iverson, and he was just talking about, as a music teacher, he has to recognize that the young people have a different aesthetic than his generation or my generation. So when I listen to James speak, I'm listening to a voice that I recognize as important, and
Right.
and we need to listen to your voice
Absolutely.
as much
Absolutely.
as I talk. What you say is very important to me, because you're 28 years old. I have a 21-year-old, and I'm trying to understand you guys, and I'm not trying to say that I know everything, because I don't. And so a lot of times what you bring back to me, it gives me something to think about. And so
Wow.
I'm grateful for your presence.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Well,
Hey, LeBeat, you ain't have to do all that, man.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
it's real. It's real.
I'm sensitive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That makes me
So
feel
am I.
good about myself.
But I hear you. And I just
Yeah.
want you to know I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Like, that's love. Like that.
Yeah,
Like, this
yeah.
means a lot. Like, that meant a lot. That meant everything to me, because I live feeling like, especially in the political world, elders, they don't respect you. They don't, if you younger, they just care about what you're doing for them, in this world. And so to hear you say that you care, just care about my voice, just like that.
The voice is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, that meant a lot.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Okay. All right.
That's love.
Okay.
Okay, y'all. Let's keep this thing going, and it ain't just on Zoom. It's real life. You know what I mean? We're gonna keep it going. All right.
Okay. Now.
Okay. So I get so many comments on this thing I'm fixing to do, and y'all probably know what it is. And that being, as always in parting, I holla. All right.